Hey guys, Alex Kahn here, and I want to show off my 1/18 scale resin model. And this is produced by Techno Model, made back in 2019. And this is actually my very first ever resin model that I've ever owned. But yeah, this is a replica of one of the hero cars seen in the movie Spinout, starring Elvis Presley, made in 1966. And in the movie, this car was known as the Fox 5. But in reality, this was an actual McLaren car with a lot of history behind it. But before I go into that, I want to talk about the model itself. So yeah, this was actually made in 2019 by Techno Model in resin. And this has the distinction of being my very first ever resin model. I've always had this snobbery towards resin models, thinking because the doors don't open, I'm not going to like it as much. But I gotta say, after looking at the details of this resin model, I'm very pleasantly surprised by how awesome it does look. So, something that's really cool about this box, you take it out kind of like a shoebox, and then the way it opens up, you actually have the ability to display this car with the box that it gives you. But honestly, I personally plan to display this car in a glass case shelf when I can. But yeah, this is my rarest model that I have. It is limited to 70 pieces worldwide, which means they've only made 70 of these specific resin cars worldwide, and I happen to own number 5 of 70. That's a very cool number because this car is known as the Fox 5 in the movie. But yeah, the display says this is a McLaren Elva Mark I, Spinout movie 1966. More specifically, it's a McLaren Elva M1A, and it was the very first ever McLaren ever produced, this particular car, and Elvis Presley had the distinction of being able to drive it on film. So let's talk about the movie car, and I gotta tell you, I hate to be that person, but there are some movie inaccuracies with this car. So as it spins around, do you see this mirror up here? I believe that's a mirror. Okay, in the movie that was not a thing. He did not have this on his cockpit. So that should be gone. And there is also a spare tire, which the McLaren Elva M1As, they did have a spare tire up here. In fact, this dash was made much longer so it could hold a spare tire right there, because you couldn't really put it anywhere else and still be aerodynamic. But unfortunately, in the movie, they did not have a spare tire up there. I looked at every shot of this car, and there was a very clear shot where it shows the dashboard, and there is no spare tire there. That said, Techno Model made several M1A McLaren Elvas, not of this detailing, but of different details. So those other models, they did have the spare tire. But yeah, I think for this one, they should have taken it out and also taken out this one, because the description on this base specifically says this is the Spinout version. But yeah, this was an actual race car, and this car is actually still in existence today. It still drives really well. It's got the sweetest engine sound you could ever imagine. But in today's version of this car, there is the big rally stripe down the middle, a white one, which I don't think looks very good. But hey, who am I to say what the owner can do with a car? But honestly, I myself, being a lover of history, I would have preserved the history of the exterior and kept it gold like this one. But yeah, this car, it does feature in the movie for about, I think it's about 13 minutes. It's about 13 minutes worth. And I gotta tell you, it's not Elvis Presley's car in the movie. Elvis Presley drives a Shelby Cobra 427. And in the final racing scene, Elvis does not actually get to drive that car. He actually drives some random blue car, which I know has a lot of racing history, but I don't really know the details of that blue car. So, in my opinion, I think this particular car is the real hero car of the movie, because Elvis Presley does drive this car in the middle of the movie when a Fox Hugh wants Elvis to test drive the car. And Elvis was going to drive the car for Fox Hugh in the movie, but then Fox Hugh told Elvis that he could not marry his daughter, and that did not sit well with Elvis. Like, Elvis did not really want to marry his daughter, but it was the whole principle of the thing. He says, hey, I'm good enough to drive your car, but I'm not good enough to marry your daughter. So he immediately terminated his agreement to drive this car, and Elvis ended up wanting to drive his Cobra, but in reality, he ended up not driving either car. But yeah, this car is very important for the movie because, as I said, it's the whole reason why Elvis has this conflict. Well, it's one of the reasons Elvis has this conflict with Fox Hugh. The other conflict being Fox Hugh's his disagreement with Elvis in marrying his daughter. But in the movie, there's two other girls that want to marry Elvis too, and Elvis had no intentions of marrying any three of those girls. They were all very beautiful though in real life. So yeah, this car is limited to 70 pieces worldwide, and I'm very surprised that no one is out buying these cars. I'm surprised this car didn't sell out in the first week, but I suppose there aren't many people who have watched this Elvis Presley movie. If you haven't seen it, it's actually very fun. There's some very solid music in the movie sung by Elvis. Although I didn't really like the soundtrack too much. Not the Elvis singing, but the instrumental soundtrack I didn't really enjoy that much. But yeah, this car is very cool. Let's look at the details here. We got some exhaust in the back, which you don't really see as prominently in the movie. They're kind of more inside the body itself. Let's see. I'm ready for it to spin around. Now we got these air intakes here to cool the rear brakes, and also in the back there's this very distinctive velocity stack, which you can see every time they show the driver. You can see those velocity stacks behind them, and I think it makes it really distinctive. And again, there's some intakes on the front nose here too, which also cools the front brakes. And then we got the radiator up here, which is cooled right here. And then the air will actually blow right over the windshield here. But yeah, aside from the spare tire being up here, and aside from this mirror being here, the car is pretty accurate, I believe. I would have to look at the movie again though to see. I would have to look at these wheels just to make sure. But yeah, it's a very tiny car, super tiny. It's even tiny in terms of width compared to the Shelby Cobra, which isn't a very big car itself. So anyways, have you guys seen this movie? What did you think of the movie? What do you think of this particular McLaren? Do you think it looks pretty cool with this paint scheme? And would you, knowing that this car exists, would you plan to get this resin model, knowing that there's only 69 left in the world? But yeah, again, this is one of my favorite collection pieces, and it's definitely my rarest collection piece. But you can still find these being sold online. But just know that there's only 69 pieces left at the most, because I already have one of them. So if you do want this, you need to go buy it now. And if you do get it, please tell me what model, what number you have. Again, mine is 5 of 70. I want to know which one you guys have. So, Hail to the King, baby. Or that's the wrong movie. That's the wrong movie. But Elvis is the king.